everything up here. It's pretty great.
Welcome to our second episode of Staging Area. Lucas Oil Pro Motocross now moves to Northern California for the Hangtown Classic. Jason Wygant, Jason Thomas will take you through the next hour of bench racing. We've got some special guests, none other than the Antonio Caroli is going to join us here in just a moment for what should be a great weekend of racing, and then we'll have Brock Glover come on to share some thoughts and memories and predictions for how the weekend's going to go. But JT, Hangtown, soaked in history, a good place to come to for the 50th anniversary of the series.
Yeah, this is one of the staples of the series, right? It's often the kind of the finale or the debut round, but so much history here. We spent the afternoon with Brock Glover, and I think he walked us through most of that history. But I have a lot of memories here in my own racing career, and now, 10 years removed, getting to watch every year. It's just a great venue all around.
All right, but all the history that's soaked in here, we're actually going to have a rider who has not raced on this track before. We'll get him in the queue, and we'll bring up, this is really cool that he actually was willing to stick around a little bit later here at 6 o'clock local time. So we'll bring Antonio Caroli on up to the stage here in a minute once he's available. And what's really cool about this is I think everybody wants to see him get the best possible experience, right? So we got to race at Pala Fox Raceway last weekend, but everybody's like, oh, we want you to do Hangtown. We want you to do more. Get these tracks in your system.
Yeah, I was definitely cheerleading him after the event. Said, I know it didn't go well. Don't give up on us yet.
Yes.
The best tracks are yet to come, and I just want him to stick around. The guy is a true legend, 9-time world champion, and everyone for his entire career has wanted him here. Even if just for a few races. So I don't want to, I think he suffered a little bit of a leg injury, which we'll ask him about last weekend, but I just want him to stick around. I want him to enjoy it, and I want him to go back with positive feelings of the series.
I feel like there's been a real change over my lifetime of going to these races where when riders from Europe would come over, it was a real us versus them mentality. And it has flipped completely now where people celebrate that this guy's here, people cheer that this guy's here, they embrace it as opposed to like they are the enemy. And you could really sense that last week.
Yeah, and I think us getting our butts kicked, for lack of a better term, in Motocross of Nations
That's
for
fair.
The last several years is I think humbled us a little bit, right? And my own personal experience, I've been over there a lot. I've been helping out the MXGP broadcast team, and I've spent a lot of time. I'll be in Germany next weekend at that series.
You're gnarly, bro.
Yeah, I have learned, I've gained a lot of respect for them. I've become accustomed to them. I've got to work, know them personally, and I think the world's just getting smaller and smaller as a place, and we should be welcoming them here more than we have been in the past.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to happen right now, as a matter of fact, because let's bring him out, Red Bull KTM team. Let's welcome to the stage Tony Caroli, the 9-time world champion, and still very generous. Could have left the track, could have went to have dinner with the team, could have been barbecuing in the pits, but instead he comes in to hang out with us. Great to have you, AC222. And look, what we were talking about just before you came here is, there was a time back in the day, I remember Erica Boris coming over for USGPs and Motocross of Nations, and it was like every fan was like, we want this guy to lose. We want Rick Johnson we want the best American guy to beat the best European guy. I feel like it's changed so much. It really feels like the fans, media, everyone around has embraced the fact that you're here, and there's full respect for everything you've done. Have you sensed that?
Yeah, sure. Really happy to be here.
Hang on here.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
We're good.
Sorry.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really happy to be here. First of all, because I always have the will, to come and race nationals, the pro nationals. But I always have been in fight for the title since 2005, more or less. So until 2021, more or less. So it was kind of difficult, but I always dreamed to come, and now, unfortunately, I was hoping to be here when I was more young, let's say younger, and more fit, but it's still okay. It's still nice to be here and enjoy the racing.
You sense though the fans?
Yeah.
They're very happy that you're here.
Yeah. I'm really also on the social media. I'm really feeling a lot of love. Let's say I really enjoy the American fans. They are really passionate for the sport, and they know a lot about racing. So it's really nice to meet them at the races.
So last weekend, me personally, riding Fox Raceway, not my favorite track I've ever ridden. It's a really challenging track, and it's a track that a lot of the regulars of the series have ridden 1,000 laps on. Being completely honest, they've ridden 1,000 laps on that track. So it's a really difficult situation for you to walk into and try to match them riding two qualifying practices and then a race. Checking out the track today, does it look a little bit more what you were thinking, or do you think you'll be a little bit more comfortable on this type of track than you were last weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I like the track last week, but like I said a lot of times already in the interviews after the race, I struggle a lot with the bike setting a lot, and also of course, when my condition physically is not good, I cannot really, let's say, help the bike that is not really performing good, and I'm just hanging, there and barely trying to finish the moto with a bike that I don't really like to and I don't not like, let's say, but that doesn't fit my riding style on this kind of tracks. And this track it looks like more ruts, it comes, and a little bit more technical than just like wide open like some parts was last week. And also the ground looks more soft, and in some part like normally it isn't, because I see the races years before and it was like quite hard, but walking the track looks like really nice this time. And I'm just looking forward. Like I said, I have no much expectation. I just don't want to risk too much. I just want to ride, enjoy the races I'm doing here, and meet the fans, and whatever it comes. But if I have the opportunity to be on the podium, I will take it. I will love to be here.
So when you say that you were struggling with the bike and the chassis last weekend, is that because you're having to use a production chassis and it's different than your bike would be in MXGP? Is that what you attribute it to?
Yes. Plus, it's it's a new bike, and everybody is a little bit struggling with KTM because we don't have really let's say a past on this bike, so everybody's struggling with setting a little bit. And mostly for me, I mean, coming from a very different, let's say, stiffer frame and testing suspension for that kind of bike, it's a little bit challenging, when you change frame. But this is not an excuse. Just because I'm not fit enough, I can adapt to any type of problems that I have with riding, with my riding style. But not being fit enough, after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you just don't push anymore with the legs. You don't stand. You just hang on the bike, and if you have a small problem, it becomes a big problem. Yeah. So this is most the thing.
How are you balancing? You did say you want to do this for fun. You're admitting that it's not the normal level of prep, but then at the end of the day, you're still a racer. So how are you balancing being okay with the result, whatever it is, when you still got that mentality deep down?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah. I can tell you, my head says to go fast, but my body doesn't really react in a lot of kind of strange situation that can happen in a moto. So I just have to be smart enough, and then see when I can push a little bit, when I have to just back down and don't do what my mind wants to do. But until I am at least feeling more comfortable, and for sure I'm a racer. I was in fight for wins last week until last year. So now it's you are there, but you can do better, but you don't have really the possibility. So you just have to be smart.
How much do you think you can gain? We don't even know how many races you're doing, by the way. This could be the end. I have a feeling it might not be. But how much do you think you can gain with your experience? Can you even get a gauge for how much better you can get, how quickly?
I think I have a feeling I can be closer to the podium already from this weekend.
Okay.
And it depends a lot also on the start. I'm not starting on the dirt since maybe 10 years.
Oh, the great start! Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird, I need to prepare the gate again after 10 years. And last week I prepared the gate, and then I turned back and I was like, what I did? It's like something completely wrong. So I messed up to complete the start of first moto. And also to adapt to that kind of thing is again, like after 10 years, it's quite long. But I mean, every little challenge, it's a challenge, and I like to take challenges. So I'm looking forward.
So I'm sure just knowing you and knowing how competitive you are, probably a little bit frustrated with how last weekend went, frustrated with the crash. If you could go back to January, February, March, would you do the same thing, take some time off and enjoy the retirement, or would you have maybe put in work so this would be a little bit easier now?
The problem was that I was being retired, and Herlings, had a crash, so he missed the World Championship. So normally he should start with the Nationals. That was the plan for him. So I was thinking already to come and race here in February already, let's say end of January. But then KTM told me, oh no, know because we have Jeffrey that want to do all the season there. So I had to wait until let's say end of March when he said that he couldn't ride anymore because his problem is getting worse. You know, so he had to do another kind of surgery or whatever. So then they say, okay, you can go. But I say, yeah, I mean, I can go, but I would like to prepare a little bit earlier, you know, the season. Even if I go for fun, it's still dangerous, you know, to be out there and not being prepared for 30 minutes. I just started doing some motos already, you know, last week when I was here. Before I just test for R&D, you know, department. So I was like one lap out, in, out, you know. You ride still a lot, let's say, but it's a different kind of riding.
Yeah. So that was part of it. You weren't sure and KTM wasn't sure if they were going to be able to make this happen. You would have liked to the whole time though.
Yeah, I would like it already from, let's say February. I was, because since I stopped with racing GPs last year in October, I didn't ride anymore until end of let's say middle of January.
Yeah.
And since I step on the new bike, testing, you know, for R&D department, I felt really good with the new bike. So I say, oh, maybe I keep riding a little bit more and more. And after 3 weeks already, I say, okay, maybe I can do some racing in the US because I had the chance to do it. So I said, okay, let's organize everything. But then I get a little bit, you know, I'll wait a little bit because we don't know what to do. So in the end, I was not even sure if I could come until the end of March. So I'm
going to help you out. This is what you should be doing. Not the chassis, not I'm unprepared. You just say, this is all Jeffrey's fault. I would be winning. Okay. If it wasn't for Jeffrey Hurlings and his injury, I would be winning.
I'd be 2 months ahead.
It's all his fault. Yes. Thank you, Jeffrey Hurlings.
No, for sure I will be not winning because the guys are riding really, really fast here. But I mean, I will be a little bit, let's say, 20% more prepared than now, which is already, you know, a bigger step. But I'm not really doubting in my possibilities. You know, I just don't want to risk too much. I just want to enjoy the racing and see whatever week after week where it can bring me.
It has to have been a crazy couple of months because, okay, so then you're dealing with is Hurling's going to come here or not, and then on the American side, is Cooper Webb going to race these nationals? And then they pull the Dungey book off the shelf, which I don't think they even that wing of the library wasn't even open anymore. So were you hearing that stuff also? Were you hearing, oh, and by the way, Dungey might be your teammate? What was your reaction when you heard that one?
Yeah, like I said, when Jeffrey finally, let's say, they decided that he was not coming, then the week after or something like that, weeks after, I hear that Ryan was coming back. I was like, okay.
Was it surprising?
I mean, but I can still go, or maybe yeah, you can still go. Okay. So I was really happy because for him, because you know he deserved, you know, from you know, all these years that he retires. And what he have done already last week impressed me a lot. So it was good to have him back and to be, you know, teammates for a few races.
Yeah. What was it like working with him last weekend?
It's crazy. So nice. I mean, he's such a nice guy and such a easy person. Also with Aaron Plessinger. I mean, such a cool guy to hang out with on. And really, really enjoy this week's here.
So last thing, any idea? Like, you're racing this weekend? Any idea yet? We're going to keep nailing you down on this. What other racetracks we might see you go to? I'm thinking Redbud would probably be a good bet since you want to do donations.
I would love to do all of them because I think it's so nice. You know, even farther we go with the calendar, even funnier and let's say amazing rounds and tracks we're gonna see it. Yeah. So let's see. I mean, after this weekend, now we'll know more and let's see what we can do.
Okay, everybody, do anything you can to vote for this on social. Fletcher KTM. We would love to have you around and also know you would enjoy some of these tracks that you might miss, so that would be cool too.
Yeah. I hope so.
It's got to be the most diverse team in the pits, by the way, too. Tony Cairoli, Ryan Dungey, Aaron Plessinger, Max Voland.
Crazy, different group of personalities over there. But most importantly, you're having fun, right?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. Meeting a lot of nice people around, so it's just fun.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by on the staging area. And good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Keep it on 2 wheels, right?
Thank you.
All right. One of the all-time legends there.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time with our 9-time world champion, Tony Cairoli. We'll let him go hang out with the family tonight here. And, hey, probably do a little sightseeing. That's the cool thing about it, JT. We keep talking about it from a racing perspective, like this track. But you're getting to see the country while you're at it, the more rounds you get to do.
Yeah, and I like the way he's approaching it. Like me, I would love for him to be ready to race and want to win, full serious, but I can absolutely appreciate him and the way he's going about this and want to enjoy it, and I want to see the countryside. And because, as much as he's been wrapped up in winning world titles, he's had this out there like, I want to go do that. I want to go do that. And this is the perfect opportunity with no pressure, and he can truly enjoy it.
Yeah, and any fan will tell you, I mean, you just look at this schedule of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross on a map. It is the perfect way to pretty much see the USA in the summertime, so hopefully he gets to do more. Oh, we got another guest. How about this?
Oh.
All right, we're going to bring Davey Coombs
himself
on over here from MX Sports Pro Racing. Awesome to stop by. Always a good bench racing session when we got Davey on board. We can talk history, we can talk current, we can talk riders, we can even talk behind the scenes and logistics of putting on a racing
You start
series.
talking history, we're going to be here 3-4 hours.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's right. That's
History
right.
and signs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, on and off the racetrack. And then we'll have another guest here in just a minute, and we'll get all four of us up here to bench race for a while. So, Davey, we're at Hangtown. We were talking 50th year anniversary. Hangtown is baked in before even 50 years.
Way before.
Yeah.
The Hangtown Classic goes back to 66, 67. It was at a different track. And, the Dirt Diggers, North Motorcycle Club, they do an amazing job. You can hear them in the background out there working on the track right now. I was over there bench racing with Brock Glover, and, talking about, Vivo's over here, and we're talking about what happened in 1991 when it flooded, or what happened when Ricky came back in 2004 on the 450. But, I want to back up for a second with Tony Cairoli.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because that's a guy that has nothing to prove.
Yeah.
He has won 9 world titles. He's won more than 90 Grand Prix. Him coming over here for KTM, for, the fans of this series, for the fans of the MXGP. It's just a really neat thing. And, for me as a fan, as a journalist, even, as a magazine guy, it's a bucket list thing to see, Antonio Cairoli, Ryan Dungey comes back, Kenny Roxon's out there, Eli Tomac's out there, Jason Anderson's out there. It's a great way to spend the 50th year. Man, I wish, Cooper Webb and a couple other guys were healthy. I did not expect Chase Sexton to be the points feeder coming in here. But, I think we all owe Antonio and Ryan, a big thank you. And also Eli from coming back so quickly from the injury he got before he won the, Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship.
Yeah, what we were talking about when I started this show is the way the fans have embraced Tony Cairoli, I think is awesome. Yeah. In 1982, the fans were, you're either with us or against us. It has changed quite a bit now, and they really respect what he's done.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. The riders have opened up their arms to Antonio. His street cred in the paddock is second to none. Well, no, it's second to... Ricky's not here.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not.
All right.
but no, the thing is though, there was a moment on the open ride day last Tuesday before the Fox Raceway opener, and I went up to just say hi to Antonio and Jill and their little boy Chase and just, kind of welcome them. And they were under the KTM awning. When I say awning, it was a box van or a sprinter van and an awning.
Yeah.
And underneath that awning was Roger DeCoster, Roger DeCoster, Antonio Cairoli, Ken Roxon was there with his little boy. Marvin Muscan, who's not even racing, was out there, and Ryan Dungey, and I was thinking, and then Ian Harrison was there as well. Yeah. There had to have been more world championship and national championships under that one awning than in any place other than like an El Cajon reunion. Okay. If Brock and his buddies had a cookout and RJ and all those guys. Yeah. But anyway, it was just really cool to see. And, Roxon's little boy, Griff was playing with Chase Cairoli and they were sitting on the bikes and taking photos, and I was like, that's really cool. I mean, no matter how big these guys get, no matter how important they get, they're still just dirt bike riders, and they still just love being with their buddies. It was really cool to see.
It is awesome, and couldn't have been scripted better to think that you get Tony Cairoli and Ryan Dungey in this series, which I don't think was on the bingo card a year ago at this time. Let's bring another guest in here. We'll talk more Hangtown history, and again talk about the race that's coming up. This is one of the guys that would be at that El Cajon Zone reunion, the 6-time AMA national champion, 3 in the 125 class, 3 in the 500 class. The golden boy, Brock Glover, is here. He'll join us on the show. He'll slide right in there. And Brock will be joining us in the television booth tomorrow. So 4 straight hours of live coverage on MAV TV. We're going to have the revolving booth all year long. We had Rick Johnson and Jeremy McGrath with us last week on the broadcast. Brock Glover will be jumping in. We did a little rehearsal today. So we'll talk Hangtown in just a moment. But first, Brock, TV thing. Are we nervous? Are we excited? Where are we at?
He's Brock Lesnar.
Coming to tomorrow.
You're an old pro. I think you're just going to make it easy for me. So
I mean, that is the goal. I never thought.
Yes. That's your question.
Yes.
There's a little bit of nerves.
Okay. All right. Yeah, when we threw the
goes.
biggest curveballs at you today, it'll be even easier tomorrow. But let's talk Hangtown. You had a brilliant idea. Brock actually found the old Plymouth track today and shot some videos over there, and there's still parts of the track.
There are. I mean, when David was talking about it, yeah, the original Hangtown, I think it was 69 on Murray Ranch over in Placerville. Placerville was known as Hangtown. They had a little a judge that didn't take up to criminals too well. When you're stealing another man's gold, they would just go, "You're guilty, hang them." So town got a little nickname Hangtown when they had the race over at in Placerville for a couple of years. It was well before the Nationals ever started, and then it moved over to Plymouth right shortly after that, 1970, I believe it was. So or maybe 71 in Plymouth. So the point was, 1974 was the first National, and the track is a lot of the land. It's all still there. You could easily lay out the track. No houses, no anything. It's there.
That is crazy, but didn't look like it had been ridden on, you said.
No, there was definitely some people who'd ridden maybe some four-wheel drives, a few things, but in general, totally overgrown. Could find some berms. We were able to find the berms. I was able to find the old original starting line.
Wow.
And how it had worked its way through the trees. So we trampled around there for a little bit, and it was totally fun. And so that track ran until 1978. So from 74 to 78, it held the National. Quickly outgrew the little town of Plymouth, and then they moved it over here to Rancho Cordova area where the Prairie City Off-Road Vehicle Park is.
So, Brock, I have a question. Were you there in 1976 when Bob Hanna literally erupted, on the map, ran down Marty Smith? I know you had to have been 16.
I was 15, and that's why I didn't get to race, actually.
Okay.
But I did. It was the Hangtown Amateur Day, the day before the National, was as about as big of an amateur race west of the Mississippi as there was. And everybody tried to get an entry. It got so big that you had to do qualifying to get an entry.
Wow.
And I don't know how in the world, but I was there the day the entries opened and made sure to overnight my entry in. Somehow I ended up getting number 2. And I could not believe they gave some punk kid from Southern California number 2. And I had a great day, won both motos, but to me it was a huge event because you had all the team managers are there. They have all their tech inspection. All the factory riders are doing their sign up at the track. I mean, you had all 3 classes in 1974, or 76, excuse me, and you had all these riders and all these factory riders there. And it was just an amazing thing to be able to kind of showcase my sort of talent. And then 1 month later on May 23rd, to be exact, Red Bud was the second round, and luckily for me, my birthday was May 16th, so I got my license, and I was able to turn pro the very next race. So, very fun year, and I got to watch, at that time, honestly, Marty Smith was an idol of mine, and had become somewhat of a mentor of mine.
Uh-huh.
And Marty would allow me to tag along with him and his teammate Tommy Croft, and I used to get to practice with him, and so, for me, it was just fantastic, but I was a little disappointed that my hero didn't win, but I was there that day in 1976.
He did win in 73 before it was a National, when he was on a Monarch, and then in 74, the first 125 National ever, Marty Smith won.
Yep,
he was the Rookie of the Year, won the championship, and that's why the Marty Smith Award goes to the AMA Pro Motocross Rookie of the Year every year. It's so far, that's been...
All right, so 75. Tell us what happened in 75. Remember?
Tim Hart won.
And why?
It was a
mud
mud
not
race.
Why. Yep, it was a total
mud
mud.
race.
Not saying Tim didn't deserve to win. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, total mud race.
He couldn't do it.
But
He tried.
legendary Northern California, Placerville, lived in Placerville, Danny Turner won the first moto, I believe on a Bull Taco, and I think his mechanic mistakenly left a rag in the airbox between motos. As you said, total mud race. Next moto, airbox stuck with a rag, didn't work, and he wasn't able to back it up in the second moto. But Tim Hart won. I think Marty ended up third overall, but that was a legendary mud race.
Well, you're going to love this. I know why Danny Turner has a place in motocross history beyond just that. If you look in the vault on RacerX Online, Danny Turner rode Nationals or Supercross for more brands than anyone in history.
He did. And he's still racing. I've raced against him on vintage bikes. He's still riding old CZs, and he's one of the greatest guys. I hope he's up here tomorrow, and I believe he's over there. They're having a little bit of a campfire show a little later on, and I'm going to join it. Warren Reed, Brad Lackey, and a few of the others. Chuck Sun's over there. So, yep, a big group of guys, and I can't wait to go say hi to all of them.
Oh, that is awesome that all these guys got together. Now, we were talking about Brad Lackey. We're going to try to get him on the TV show. JT, you can grab him tomorrow. Not only Northern California legend, known in the area, but then went on to be as successful as anyone really in America could be in this sport by winning the first 500 national championship and then eventually getting that world championship. And I always wonder, we do so much statistical research of the record books. There are so many wins that he probably left on the table in this series, let alone Supercross, which wasn't even a thing yet, because he pursued the goal of world championship, which was awesome then, but we don't probably give him the credit he deserves, because the race wins that he left on the table by leaving, it has to be phenomenal what he could have done if he had stayed, Brock.
Well, we don't want to get me started on the 500 championship here, because Davey and I'll be going on and on. Yeah, Brad was our very first national champion in the 500 class. Yeah. The 500 class was clearly the king's class in that era.
Yeah.
And from 1972, 10 years later, he won his world championship in 1982. And so that whole era there, and he chased and pursued that championship for close to that entire time. And for him to do it, he was the only American to ever win the 500 championship. He was the first American to become a world champion. And, it took him 10 years from his first national champion to do that. And being in Northern California, I mean, he's legendary and synonymous with this motocross in this area.
Well,
so it's fantastic.
And one thing I would want to add there, and I don't know what it was like, but I know what it was like from like the late 90s to now. Going to Europe as an American at that time was like moving to the moon. Right? You didn't have a cell phone. You didn't have Wi-Fi. Yeah. You couldn't speak the language. No one there spoke English hardly at all, back then. Like the world has gotten much, much smaller. It's much easier for an American to go there or vice versa. We just had Tony Cairoli here. He comes over. Things are very similar, right? You can get around easy. It's not that complicated. Back then, I don't think you can overstate how difficult that transition had to be. Like it's an entirely different way of life, let alone racing, right? Just your everyday way of life had to be completely different. So for that move to be willing to have the ambition to go chase that and then be eventually successful after, close to 10 years, that's incredible, right? I don't think you can overstate it.
Yep. I go to Europe often to the one particular race in Italy called the Transbogaro race. And my wife and I, Molly, we had a chance to sit down with Brad and his wife, Lori. And we were jet-lagged, and it was getting late, and a bottle of wine might have appeared on the table. And next thing you know, it was 4 o'clock. And my wife and I were walking back to our hotel room, and she goes, that was unbelievably incredible. We just got to sit down with Lori and Brad and kind of hear what two young Californians did with a motorhome. And as Jason was talking about, driving from country to country, each time you stop at a border, they want to see all your papers. You got to have a different currency, a different language in most cases when you crossed over. And these two young Americans with a young child with them chasing this dream in a motorhome and going from country to country. And we just got to hear these incredible stories. I just wish I would have had a tape recorder.
We got to do that actually someday on the record. We're going to take a commercial break here with Staging Area. We'll be back with a whole bunch more bench racing, talking about Hangtown then, Hangtown now, and everything that's coming up as we celebrate 50 years of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. So don't go anywhere.
Keeping your pride and joy perfect is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Start with Slick Mist Speed Wax. Simply mist on and wipe off for professional detail or shine. For your tires and trim, there's Lucas Slick Mist Tire and Trim Shine. Spray on and wipe off for better than new look. Then finish her with Lucas Slick Mist Interior Detailer. Just spray and wipe. Easy. Use Lucas Slick Mist Car Care products and she'll never look better. Fast, easy, and professional. Really, it's sort of like having an extra set of hands. or 3?
Who's it going to be after 30 minutes and 2 laps? Heart rates are absolutely pinned right now. It is on right now. Map TV live coverage, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. How can you not respect the grit, the heart, the effort? Jim Lawrence is the 2021 Lucas Oil Pro Motocross champion.
The Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Series. This year on Map TV.
Back here, staging area on the Monster Energy stage. We get ready for round 2 Lucas Oil Pro Motocross tomorrow afternoon. It's the 50th anniversary of the AMA National Motocross Championship. Jason Wygant, Davey Coombs, the Golden Boy, Brock Glover, Jason Thomas here. We'll bench race till the top of the next hour, 6:30 here local time in California. And you guys can't get enough. You just want to keep talking old school Hangtown 500 Nationals and everything that comes with it.
I was trying to figure out the first time I was here, and I never raced here. I used to wear the helmet cam. That you don't get to do that, do you?
No, that's right. That's one part of the pit reporting job.
I wore it plenty. I wore it plenty already.
But I came here the first time in 1994, and what I'll never forget is they had me be the pit reporter. But as I was coming in, I stopped at a gas station. I was listening to NPR, because back then there was no satellite radio, podcast, anything like that. And on the radio it came on and said that this race car driver had died in a crash in Italy, and I was like, oh wow, I don't really follow F1, but Ayrton Senna had died. So I come in, and the first person I see is Mitch Payton. I'm like, hey, I know you follow car racing. That some guy just died, Ayrton Senna, and Mitch freaked out, like was like, what?
He got hurt.
There was no payphone. There was nothing he could do, and I always remembered that day. It was also the day that Jeff Stanton knocked himself out, and decided, he would tell me later, that was the moment he decided to retire. And he didn't announce it till Red Bud, and he rode the rest of the year in 94. Yeah. But that day, I was like, wow, Hangtown, big day.
Yeah. But there's been a lot of them here. You were talking about the one Moto mudder with these two guys who would... Yeah. I mean, look, they got lucky in a mud race. They were never going to win any more races.
But they were great mud riders.
Yeah, I mean...
But just a couple of guys from New England, they're sand riders. They grew up racing Southwick. They don't know how to ride here at Hangtown, the West Coast. But 1991, the conditions were horrendous. Skies opened up, torrential downpours, and they had
more like water than mud.
It was more. I think people were more concerned about drowning like literally physically body drowning, not drowning out your bike, but actually drowning in the water. But yeah, the one moto where Doug Henry won the 125 and John Dowd won the 250.
And it's hilarious because again, they were just privateers. So I think people are like, it was a mud race. They got lucky. That'll probably be the last time you ever hear of these guys. And then 3 or 4 years later, they're just winning regular races at all the tracks. Yeah. So it was kind of the birth of those New England privateers here in California.
Yeah, I remember when that happened, there was a big to-do because all of the factory guys' bikes broke in the 250 class. And I mean, Ward, Matasevich, Stanton, Bradshaw, not Bale. Yeah. And remember, Henry had won the 125 race. Roy Jansen was the director of the race at that time. And I've always asked him, like, if Bale had won, would you guys have thrown the race out? He just says, I don't know. And I'm like, then let me ask the follow-up question. Was Bale smart enough to know that you would never throw it out if a privateer won? Because the last lap, he's just riding around, looking around like, he's got that funny, Carl's Jr. number 8 on top of his helmet. He's wearing an open face helmet. He's got rags hanging down. But I think he played the long game in that race.
He might have. He was Jean-Michel. I actually had the privilege when he was a young kid in France, and I'd go over to do some of the races over there and got to know. But I met the family. He's a very young kid riding mini bikes, and so I got to spend a lot of time. And he was as clever as a fox. But you mentioned the Carlos Jr. It was like a table, like something you'd put out for the server to know which table number 8 or whatever. And he put it on his helmet because this was pre-transponder days. Yeah. So he throws it on his helmet to make sure the scores would absolutely not miss him each lap. And so that was smart of him.
And if any of you hardcore fans out there have your high flyer trading cards, the 1991 card, the shot of Bale, was from that race, as well as the one of Swink and Antonez and some other guys, because that was the race they picked to send Kenny Jones to.
Oh,
and he was supposed to shoot.
Photographer,
the photographer, Kenny Jones, and he was supposed to shoot all these photos, and instead it's a complete mutter, and that was the photo they got of JMB. He's got an open face helmet, the number 8 Carl's Jr. on his helmet.
And God forbid they spend a few $100s and send him to another race back then. But no, they wanted, that was it. That was our budget, man. We blew it all. We got $400 wrapped up into this thing.
Well, look, Vail won all 3 titles that year. The only rider to ever do that. He won the 250 Supercross title, 250 and 500 National Motocross titles. They were short series back then because, as you said, they used to race them all. Then they split it in half. If he doesn't get those points that day, and Stanton's bike drowns out, maybe he doesn't win that 250 title. It might change that entire record that only he holds because of that day here.
It was instantaneously a 22-point lead.
Yes,
because I think Gatorback was the first round, and if I remember correctly, no, Johnson won Gatorback 1990. So I think Stanton and Vail just flop Moto wins. So they were tied coming into this race, and then it was a 22-point lead, and there was only 4 or 5 races to make it up, and Vail made 0 mistakes. I know that he actually won by more than 22 points. I think it was 27 in the end. Yeah. Like I said, he played the long game.
Yeah, it's he was a wise racer, and he only did what he needed to do. I raced with him in my 1989 season in Europe in the World Championships, and I got to see his cleverness on all the different types of tracks we rode. We rode mud tracks often, sand tracks too many times, but then we rode all different kinds, and I got to watch his whole approach to all the different terrains. Back, honestly, when the World Championships were kind of that, where you had to be an accomplished rider in all track conditions. Today, I understand for TV and everything, they do tend to be a little bit more cookie cutter tracks, but back then, there'd be a top rider from Italy. That guy could just fly in Italy, but when he got to the Netherlands or he got to Belgium, he was nowhere to be found, and vice versa. But, it was fun to watch Jean-Michel Vail. He was as talented as ever.
The first time Antonio Caroli did a sand GP, I want to say it was 2005, he was lost. And he taught himself, as the years went on, how to ride the sands. The same way Ricky Carmichael taught himself how to ride in the mud. Or the way Jeffrey Hurlings, who arguably was the best sand rider ever, has taught himself how to ride on hardpack. You don't get those specialist races. You don't get the Southwick guys showing up. You remember how there'd be Pat Bodden.
One year we had one of them qualify first in the premier class.
Oh yeah, that was Mike
Satilli.
That was 2011.
And first pick on the starting gate is Mike Satilli. Like what? Ahead of everybody. Yeah,
kind of turned into the Robbie Marshall show. Like how well is Robbie going to do today?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was fun.
So this track, and JT, you can talk about this too. You saw it even from an earlier time, Brock. This track has evolved a ton. So talk about it. We saw Plymouth, obviously, was a lot different, but even this particular facility, how much has this changed through the years?
Oh, it definitely has. And the fact, over the years, there's a lot of terrain change here at this facility here at Prairie City, up and down, and it's good viewing from this side of the track where we are right now. It's fantastic viewing. You see pretty much the whole track.
Yeah.
But over the years, it always was a bit of a hard pack track, and people sometimes don't realize we talked about the very first Hangtown at Plymouth running all 3 classes, but then in 83, 84, and 85, they also had all 3 classes. So the track got beat down pretty hard. It got full hard pack California-esque. And then as the history went on, there was even a Trans-USA race here in 81. It was the final round. So this track has a lot of history, but they've been adding in rice husks. They've been adding in sand. They've been trying to get some more condition. And, of course, there's some great big jumps here, too, as all modern tracks seem to have. Like the Fly 150. We'll throw that in for JT. And it's changed quite a bit.
What have you seen, JT?
Well, so my earliest memories would have been looking through old magazines, right? You see the pictures, and that's how all of us kind of grew up, these far-off lands that tracks you've never ridden before. That's your only real memory of them. And I just remember how hard-packed it was. I would look at, like, this track, and I would look at, like, Carlsbad, and I'd be like, there's no dirt whatsoever. And I'm growing up in Florida, and I'm used to sand, and everything's tacky and loamy, and I'd look out there, and I'm like, how do they even ride that? Like, it's just wheel spin central everywhere around the track. So my first year actually racing it was 98, and I remember going out there. First moto, it wasn't so bad. Second moto, it was just like I-80, which is the free road. If you're watching, it's just like I-80.
Yeah.
And they had thrown water onto I-80 for the second moto. And in my first lap, I was like both feet out, just trying to keep my wheels from spinning up all the way around the track. And that was kind of the norm for several years. And then you come to flash forward to 2022, it's legitimately loamy out there. I was walking the track earlier, kind of checking things out for tomorrow, and conditions are like perfect. Like the transition from then to now, I know it's been a really long time, but it doesn't even seem like it's the same racetrack. So kudos to the Dirt Diggers for doing that. That's a really big transition to make from as hard, literally, and no joke, it's as hard as the road that we drove in on it was, to now it's as loamy as if we were back east in Indiana somewhere.
And how about Mother Nature? Very much cooperating. We've got a high cloud cover right now, and the temperatures have gone. A couple days ago, it was in the 90s here, and now it's supposed to be only in the 70s, I think, for tomorrow's race, which is going to be fantastic.
Brock, I feel like you just jinxed Thunder Valley because Mother Nature is a cruel mistress.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, everybody said it's going to be hot next week here. It might rain on Sunday, but perfect on Saturday. So yeah, we might be in for some revenge by the time we get to
maybe
Colorado.
Snow.
Yeah. So a lot of history here at Hangtown. Let's talk about what we expect to see tomorrow. Davey, you hit it on. There were so many stories coming into this season, and it really tilts as soon as Dylan Ferrandis, the shocker that he's in up potentially not racing at all, but certainly not the opener. And we come here, and the red plate is on Chase Sexton's bike. There were so many stories, and we weren't talking about Sexton.
Yeah, and I gotta say, we're talking about the 50th year of pro motocross and all the Hangtown history here and stuff. But man, did he not look like exactly like David Bailey in 1982? I think Bailey was wearing the Fox gear that looked like sort of a combination Yoko and Roxy, and then Kenny looked exactly like RJ in '86.
Yeah.
But even the way Chase Sexton was on the bike, if David Bailey was watching that, and I know he was because I saw some comments, he had to have just been smiling because it was like a doppelganger for Bailey in 82 and 83, and man, I was stoked for Roxon to get things turned around. I mean, the guy's raced since Daytona.
Yeah.
And you could see on his social media that he was working through some things and whatnot. But man, Sexton just put it to him fair and square, and then was right there with him in the end. And to see those guys together have that kind of day, let alone the Lawrence brothers.
Yes.
I think everyone's got their work cut out for him. But I do think that Eli showed noticeable improvement between motos.
Yeah, it looked like Eli. I'm not sure he's 100% physically with his knee, and there's no question that. But we were talking about, what were some of your bigger surprises of that? I think Ken Roxon, you mentioned Ken Roxon. To me, he was one of my biggest surprises, no question about it. I didn't think he would be that fit and that ready to go, and he was. He gave Chase a little battle there the second moto. He didn't just, once Chase got the start, Kenny was like, no, I'm going to make a move. We watched on the replay earlier. He definitely made the pass on him, and he surprised me a lot. Jason Anderson had the speed. The 21 bike was clearly as fast enough to be competitive. Unfortunately, you cannot give these guys the start and come around. He had problems in the first turn crash, no question, but I expect a lot more out of him tomorrow, and I'm hoping to see Eli Tomac be able to ride himself a little bit further. And Antonio Caroli was talking about riding himself into shape too, so who knows?
Well, we do a podcast every week, JT. We have seen round one completely be the opposite. It doesn't at all predict. Sometimes it comes true. Ferrandis won the opener last year. Osborne won the opener the year before that. Sometimes. But you can't take too much out of round one. We just don't know. I
really hate drawing conclusions from round one. You just make yourself look silly. I think the perfect example, go back to 2010.
Yeah.
Right
here.
Chad Reed wins the Moto. Looks like he's coming out swinging right after finishing out Supercross, coming back from an injury. Looks strong. Everything's now was around him very, he's like, oh, it's on. Ryan Dungey, I think he went 7-7 that day.
One of the worst performances because Dungey's so consistent. The 7-7 is a disaster.
Just looked awful on the motorcycle as well. Everybody's wondering, what is he doing? He looks so great. He won the Supercross championship. Well, guess what? We go to Freestone a couple weeks later, and everything starts to change, right? Dungey comes back. The season looks nothing like that. So, long story short, Fox Raceway is a track that these guys ride all the time. They practice there a ton. Chase Sexton, it's been wildly his most successful track. 2 of his 3 overalls have been at that racetrack. So let's see what we have tomorrow. At the end of tomorrow, if things look the same as they did last Saturday, great. I'm ready to start, saying we're developing some trends, but I'm going into tomorrow with an open mind. I think that we'll see some significant differences.
And if I may, we're talking about, the guys at the top. I do want to say that I think the rookie of the day performances, I know that, Nick Romano led a little bit. I know there was a bunch of other guys out there, but I got to give it up to JT, as the pit reporter, and Daniel Rogerson, our drone operator, absolutely killed it. If you were watching the coverage last week on Mav TV Plus, man, that was good stuff. And then Tom Journay takes it, crunches it down, puts it on social media. The drone adds a new layer, and I'm super stoked that we have that this year with Mav TV. And again, JT, I know it's no easy job.
Well, if you look up deer in the headlights on Wikipedia, you'll see my picture right there just staring at a camera, because that was me last weekend. But I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and it's awesome to be a part of this great sport, especially to be on TV doing it.
And you didn't call him Levi Kitchens once.
Hey, listen, when you're riding like that, you get as many kitchens as you want.
Okay. Get the kitchen sink. JT, I was worried for you last week because the mechanic interview during the race had pretty much died after Davey stopped doing the job. It was just not a thing anymore. So Scotty Mack of Mav TV, he was around back in those days. You were around back in those days. You're like, let's revive it. We got this new guy, JT. He doesn't know better. We'll make him do it.
A big reason for the change in that is we were doing live to tape. The races weren't live. So I just go interview everyone.
Yes.
And if Scotty Mack wanted to stick it in, he could. And Art and David would be like, let's go down to Davey in the pits. And I'm like, Art, throw it to me. Art, throw it to me.
Oh, yeah.
But now that we have the new structure for the team managers, Roger DeCoster, Jeremy Coker, Ian Harrison, those guys are up there, so you have access to them. That was different the last few years. It was hard for Will to get around.
Yeah, so explain that. The team managers tower in the mechanics area, they have a double decker, and the team managers stand on top, and the mechanics are down below, and you have full access.
I don't want to brag about it until we get it as good as they have in MXGP, which is fantastic. Yeah. But I think it's as good as they have in Supercross.
Yeah. It was great, and I think the highlight of that, and certainly the highlight of my interviews was you have this incredible story with Tony Cairoli, and we covered it already, and then Ryan Dungey putting in this performance that I don't believe he was truly that thrilled about, and that's a whole other topic. He wasn't as ecstatic as everybody else was. I think there's a lot more in the tank that we're going to see from him. But you see this going on, it's just incredible. And then you get Roger saying, yeah, we need to do better. we have a guy that hasn't raced in 6 years, and then you have a retired guy that came up from Italy just to have a little American vacation, and they're both running around inside the top 10, let alone the top 5. And Roger's like, yeah, this isn't good enough. This is not
We are here to win. I love it. So here's what you've started, JT. I was worried for you going up to these mechanics, most of them who have never been interviewed on TV, saying like, hey, I'm trying to do my job. Stop interrupting. Oh, no. The floodgates are already open. I get on my flight yesterday. Christian Craig's mechanic, Brent Duffy, is like, hey, why didn't JT interview me? My guy got on the podium. So it's already on now. Okay. You had one round. They all want the spotlight, bro.
Exactly. Well, I am very open to lobbying.
Okay.
There's all kinds of, all those
payoffs,
things.
Payoffs, maybe, whatever. Gift cards, you take gift cards, preloaded Starbucks accounts. You got
there you go.
When I was doing it, Jeremy McGrath was winning for so long on his Honda that it was always Skip Norfolk that you'd interview. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, Skip, what'd you change this week? And he's like, fuel.
Okay.
Air filter.
I put more gas in it. Yeah. There was no story to it. But he was great. He was gracious. Yeah. But he had won so many times he didn't know how to, really,
what else can you say?
He couldn't invent drama. Those guys were so on it. It was amazing.
Well, they really did become celebrities in their own right, the mechanics and anyone around them, and that's kind of gone away. So that's what we're trying to bring back here.
Yeah, I think so, but I think that was, Bondo and Scotty Mack in the TV truck, and then the having an area, it used to be the team manager's viewing area was removed from where the podium and the mechanics area was, because we had to put them somewhere they could see the best. Now they're concentrated again, and it's not 40 mechanics in there. They're above it all, and they're able to, JT and his cameraman can go get there. So that's changed. And you're doing it live, so you can't stumble and accidentally call Roger hikey, or something like that.
Well, and that, I think that's something hopefully that will translate to television is, I have this, preconceived notion that people think the mechanics area is pretty calm and that, they're waiting each lap for the guys. It's very tense. Like, these guys are emotionally invested. This sport absorbs their lives. Like, they're working on bikes all the time. They're traveling. They're away from their families. Like, when it's in the middle of the moto, they are as locked in as their rider. I promise you. So I have to kind of wait for my moment, and they're looking at the board. They're writing to the mechanics. They're talking to their team managers. There's a lot going on. So I have to kind of tap them on the shoulder, tap on the shoulder, and they just grab their shoulder like, hey, I need you, because A, they're not really used to it, and B, they're completely in the zone during these motos. But I think getting their insight and their side of the story, especially when they have all that emotion and they're that charged, is really cool. Like that brings a lot to the broadcast, I think. Yeah.
Now, we did touch on the Ryan Dungey story. It looks so normal. He looks the same. The riding style's the same. He's on the same team he was on. That, to me, it almost diminishes how unbelievable this is. It looks like you just plug and play Ryan Dungey, but that's not normal for any sport. For any sport, JT, I joked with you preseason. I guess I could do the same thing with you, Brock. So 89 was your last season? Get you back in 1995? You'd be going
not a chance, Weege. As a matter of fact, Davey's the perfect guy to have here to talk about this topic. So I chair the AMA Hall of Fame Motocross and Supercross committee.
Yeah.
Davey's one of my
I'm on the
members.
committee.
Okay.
And he's on the committee with me. We were like in pig heaven. We were loving it. We had Ryan Villapoto, no question, first ballot Hall of Famer. We had James Stewart going to go on the ballot this year. Like, okay, we're all set. And Ryan Dungey. We had these guys lined up perfectly, right in order. Mm-hmm. And then that number 5 guy decides he wants to start racing. You have to be retired for 5 years to be considered on the ballot. And it's like, oh my gosh, he just kind of messed with our whole parade.
It came so far out of the blue that the way we did the Racer X National stickers this year is round 1 is number 1. It's a photo of Gary Jones. Round 2 is number 2, so we did Ryan Villapoto, and it goes through all the way to
all the numbers, right?
Marty Smith's number 9, you're number 6, Ricky Johnson's number 8. Well, for number 5, it was either Stanton or let's put Ryan Dungey on.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Now you're running new stickers.
We have one active rider on this. Okay.
Oh, come on. Break into that big wallet of yours and run some new Stanton stickers. Come on, man. We can't have an active rider.
We have the Motocross of Nations to put Stanton on.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
It messed up a lot of stuff. You had the idea of we're going to have different announcers at every round, like Brock, you're going to be in the TV booth, and Ryan Dungey was on that list. And then for a few weeks, Ryan just turned it down.
He went
cold. No one knew why. Like, why did he turn it down? We had no idea because he's planning on racing.
I'm racing again. I just haven't announced it.
So, Brock, you and I were talking about it in the truck during rehearsal earlier. It looks the same. It seems repeatable. Ryan Dungey's always solid and consistent, but let's not forget he's been retired for 5 years, hasn't raced motocross in 6. It's unbelievable what he did.
Ryan, we talked about, Ryan, I've always just admired Ryan. He's just, he's way faster than people give him credit for.
Yes.
And people are like, oh, he wasn't, I always I remember going and I'd often pull out races that he would win.
Yeah.
And I would show that he had the fastest race lap. He might have qualified he had the fastest heat race. And I'm like, why do people think this guy's the diesel and he just barely, he just kind of gets the minimum done? He's steady Eddie. Like, when you're the fastest race lap and you have the fastest qualifying heat and you win the main event, that's not steady Eddie to me. That's really darn fast and going so fast that you look, to me last weekend, Jet Lawrence, I don't know. That to me that looked relatively easy for him for some reason.
He wasn't even sweating on the podium.
If you can win a national 1-1 and win both motos, and you make it look easy, you got something. And so that's kind of how Ryan did often in his career. But he was also just very consistent, rarely off the podium. And to see what he did, it's an incredible run there. What he did this already in Paula. I can't wait to watch him tomorrow.
I think in Dungey's case, it's that RD5 coffee.
Yeah.
But I want to know what's in Jet Lawrence's donuts. I want to know what's in those donuts.
You'll have what he's having?
Cream-filled version of it, whatever's in it.
You never know with Myrtle. It could be anything.
Vegemite.
Probably money.
I was thinking about this, and, James Stewart predicted that Ryan Dungey was going to win this Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship this week, right? That took me aback a little bit because James doesn't hand out a lot of credit. Like, he likes to pick and choose where he hands out accolades like that. And for him to pick Dungey, I started thinking about, is this really possible? How would he get this done if it was going to happen? And I started thinking about this race in 2015. And if you guys remember it, it was one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen in my life by Eli Tomac. His best lap was 5 seconds a lap faster than Ryan Dungey. Now, Ryan Dungey got second, and Eli Tomac won by 1.5 minutes. He won by 1.5 minutes, okay? Guess who won the championship that year? Ryan freaking Dungey.
Yeah.
Because Eli Tomac threw himself off his motorcycle in Thunder Valley. Shortly afterwards.
Two shoulders later. Yep.
I think about that type of season, and Dungey doesn't have to be the best guy. He doesn't have to come out and blow everybody away at the first round, just like in 2010. If he gets rolling, though, and he starts to pick up confidence, the tracks are going to come to him. We're going to get to Southwick. We're going to get to Millville. We're going to get to these tracks where he might be the best guy that day. If he hangs around, if they let him hang around, stay 10, 20, 30 points within the lead, I'm not saying he's going to win this thing, but it's possible.
And remember, we already lost Ferrandis. We don't quite know the status of Eli Tomac. Eli Tomac was not peak Eli Tomac last week. Now, he could Hangtown it again and won it and change a lot of the story tomorrow, but we don't know that yet. Ken Roczen has been up and down. The 12 races have been tough on him. He's always good at the opener. Sexton is yet to find that consistency. There is now a pathway to at least have a conversation about Dungey winning this title, which seems absolutely insane.
And my favorite clapback I saw all week. Somebody had posted on Twitter, if Ryan Dungey gets a top 5, I'll cut my wiener off. And then Lindsey Dungey posted, anyone got a knife?
Unreal.
I saw that. That was a great one. That was perfect. And honestly, I mean, talking about salt of the earth, I talked to Ryan it was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, and asked him, hey, what have you been doing? And he'd literally been down in the trenches with his dad doing construction. I mean, he doesn't need to do that. He's just going along helping his dad. I'm like, he goes, yeah, it's pretty bad when it's like 20 degrees outside and you're layered up and trying to do.
And he's still doing it.
Oh, incredible. And then all of a sudden he makes this comeback, and so I'm excited to have him here, and I can't wait. And we mentioned the Jason Anderson and all the different guys that have a chance here. And Eli Tomac has just had this storied history here where he won his very first national he ever raced on a 250 right here at Hangtown. So he loves this track. So I can't wait to see him. I can't wait for tomorrow.
This is going to be awesome. We'll be ready for round 2 of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, the Hangtown Classic. You can watch it starting at 1 o'clock Pacific or 4 o'clock Eastern. Our Moto's 4 hours of coverage live on MAV TV or MAV TV Plus. But don't forget, we also have our practice show every Saturday morning, and I believe we're going to show that. I got this right? We're going to show this on YouTube as well for free. So we'll give you a little taste of what you could get every weekend if you sign up for MAV TV Plus. That'll be at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. An hour of practice coverage for both 250 and 450. It'll be myself and Brock in the booth, and JT Money there patrolling the racetrack. Brock, I got one more question for you. Last week, Honda brought the retro look in. They had the retro results. If you're Jeremy McGrath and Rick Johnson, who were with me, they were loving it because they were part of that Team Honda golden era. Did it give you nightmares to see that? Because that's the spaceship bikes you had to race against. What was it like to see a David Bailey replica out there again?
Oh, it was, there were some, as a matter of fact, David and I had just an incredible race here one time, too. We raced, I mean, you could throw a blanket over us the entire race, and we finally came into the final corner, and we got a little too close, a little bit of rubbing, and we both went down, and David's spaceship bike, somehow I don't know who was tweaking on, but it was laying on the side idling, and mine had stalled, and he just picked it up and rode it about 50 feet and just took the overall from me, and I'm like, oh, darn it. But, you know, people asked, did you guys ever get heated and all that stuff? David and I never that I know of. He might have hated me, but I never had any heated moments like that, even when we had little incidents like that.
Wow.
And so, yes, last week's Honda, I saw plenty of red in my life, and
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but honestly, Weech, like, incredible career, Brock. Like, that goes without saying, 6 titles. We know all that, but nothing will ever top his performance in Winners Take All.
Here we go.
Nothing will ever top
get
that.
Off the air. I love it.
Absolutely not.
You want me to throw that line out
yes,
to you? Okay,
absolutely.
I think I remember. Wasn't it? Do you know how long it took me to find
this place?
Oh, there you go, Carl.
Listen, I've seen that movie, no joke, 500 times. No joke. And that baby blue Corvette, like, there's so much greatness in that movie from top to bottom, and I would give anything to be in that movie.
I thought
if I
the
could go back in time,
polo shirt was pretty good too, or whatever they had me wearing.
Yeah, you had like a tank top on. If there was like a hot tub time machine and I could go back and just do anything, it wouldn't be to meet Abraham Lincoln. It wouldn't be to stop World War II. It would go back and be in Winners Take All.
Yeah.
Absolutely would. I would be working at Mellon Feed Co.
Yeah, making fun of Mr.
Right
GQ
there.
over here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. GQ.
I think we've run the full spectrum here. We've done it. We went from Placerville to Plymouth to here.
We got pretty high at one point, but we just finished right in the gutter. Right in the gutter.
The greatest movie of all time. Forget Top Gun 2. Nobody cares about Top Gun 2.
You and Nick Way, brother.
Who do you think I watched it with?
You and Nick Way. That's right.
And the fact that they got the motocross rider to play the guy who hated motocross.
Absolutely.
Just great irony.
I wrote an article about that movie.
Funny story was I was still had struggling with a navicular, trying to heal a navicular broken wrist.
It looks fantastic.
And they asked me, do you think you could cut the cast off and we'll put, and I said, why not? It's not going to hurt it. So I cut the cast off, or they cut the cast off, and makeup to my arm because it was pure white.
Oh,
I showed up and I drove that Corvette one-handed.
Oh, wow. We got some behind-the-scenes stories.
Exactly. So.
We're sticking around to the end here on staging area. Oh, that's great. All right, so we ran the full gamut of our bench racing, and we'll get to everything that happens tomorrow, like I said, starting at 10 o'clock Pacific on MAV TV Plus, or you can watch it on the YouTube channel for the series. That's American Motocross. That's it. I'm Jason Wygant, Davey Coombs, Brock Glover, and Jason Thomas. A lot of Jasons on the show to keep straight for you.
Bookends.
Thanks for hanging out here at the Monster Stage, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been round 2, staging area.